Hello, and welcome to another edition of Uconomy. I'm Thomas Fox.
And I'm still Nunzio Bruno.
And this episode, we're talking a little bit, something a little fun, something a little scary, social media and your job.
Yeah, how not to get fired. Well, not how to get fired. How to stay employed gainfully employed.
Yeah, a little backwards. But
you're protecting your income.
Yeah, how not to lose your job, and how to also position yourself if you're looking for a job,
right,
and what you should really be paying attention to with social media and your profiles.
Right. So we're not trying to step on any other shows on the Businews channel's toes, but when it comes to protecting income or the pursuit of income, it's kind of our wheelhouse.
So we can't fall into that.
Yeah,
we do a little bit of that. Well, obviously, now with the world of social media, you can stay connected just about anywhere through any kind of platform. If you're out and about and you want to check into places, you got Foursquare. If you just want to have little things you want to talk about, you can hit them up on Twitter. Or if you want to stay in touch with friends and family, you got Facebook. And then lastly, you have LinkedIn, which is basically the powerhouse for professional networking. But each one of these sites operate a little bit differently.
Right.
And the people you're going to encounter are a little bit different. They have different expectations on each one of the platforms. And you also have to be careful, with all that going on anyway, about what your employer can see that you put out to that information, or for people that you're looking to get a job from, what are they seeing when they visit your profile? So we're going to spend a little time talking about that, and probably start off with Facebook, because right now they're the ones pushing out the new timeline aspect and everything, and it's been up in arms. People like it and don't like it, but it does change a lot about how people can search your information on there, and more people are starting to use that, even recruiters, as they're trying to look at your Facebook page as if it's a digital resume. And I don't know about that too much. I don't particularly like that part of it.
Where do you blend? Where do you draw the line between personal and professional? That's kind of the big question. So our first recommendation, I think I could speak for both of us, is make sure your privacy settings are exactly how you want them to be, especially if you're worried about being unprofessionally viewed as when you're on the job.
Yeah, and generally when we're talking about privacy settings in Facebook, they tend to change when Facebook does an upgrade. So if Facebook does an upgrade, your privacy settings may automatically change. So whatever you had on there the last time before timeline may not be the same. And part of that reason is because there's new functionality with timeline. So there's going to be additional privacy options that you have to go through. So if you go to your Facebook page, I believe it's My Account, and then go through privacy settings, you can start to look through the different privacy settings. And some of this is when you do a post. Can everybody see it? Can your close friends see it? Is it people that you just want to see in your town? So you can really customize that down to the letter of when you put out a post, what they're looking for. I'll say the number one thing, and I'll go beyond Nunzio right now, the number one thing, even beyond the privacy settings, in my opinion, is how you present yourself in your profile pic on each one of your pages.
Yep. So that avatar, hopefully you're smart, so you've kind of gone through a little precautionary house cleaning. Wow, my brain is just not working this time.
We're bizarro economy right now.
It's just reverse. So in the looking for a job process, right, the job search, you hopefully went through and you kind of uniformly created avatars that are the exact same picture across all of your social media to kind of foster or help to reinforce the brand that you represent as you're trying to sell yourself to potential employees or employers. Facebook's a good one because you can almost control who has access to your information for the most part. But the important thing when we're talking about dividing the line between personal and professional are networks that you might not have as much control over, who sees what you're posting, namely Twitter. You can't control who follows you on Twitter.
No, you can't control that. You can set your account to private, which is good in a sense, but then you miss out kind of the benefit of what Twitter is all about, which is a great amplification social media platform to really get yourself out there and increase your brand. And when we say your brand, we're not talking Coca-Cola, whatever. We're talking you.
Right.
You are a brand. Whatever you have, you probably work with people and say, hey, man, you're pretty smart. You always do this. That's part of your brand. Wow, I'm an intellectual person that's able to, develop plans and carry them out in a timely fashion. That's just you working quickly, and that's part of your brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have to protect that a little bit. And sometimes, listen, we know it. It happens too. People judge a book by its cover. It's not right, but it happens. So if you have, let's say on Facebook, you got a nice picture of when you're doing a cake stand in college, you might want to take that down as your profile pic. Something a little more. You don't have to be in a suit or tie or anything, but if you're looking for a job, or if you work at a place that's, they seem to be more about, the way you present yourself. And honestly, there are some places that I was talking to somebody at an investment firm, they're not allowed to have a Facebook page. Because if they were to talk about, like, let's say that they are working with a new investment.
Yep.
If they say, wow, I'm working on this investment, it could be construed as an endorsement.
Yep.
So, depending on where you work, you're going to have to gauge it a little bit. I mean, listen, if you're working at a paint gun store, you know what I mean? Go ahead, do whatever you want on your profile.
No, but see, even then, the brand of those companies. I mean, if you're an employee and you're speaking actively, you're using an active voice. You are representing them even when you're off the clock.
Yeah, if you're pitching them, I would say. But if it's a little mom and pop shop and it's no one that really, there's no harm, no foul. It's your own account. You really don't talk about who your employer is, and you don't have it in your information. You don't have to worry too much about it. But when you're in there and you say, I work at Mass Mutual, I do this, I do that, people are going to see that. You're going to come up in internet searches, and so that's important.
Absolutely.
So that's where you be mindful and be a little more cognizant about how you present yourself and the thing you talk about. And
so we have a few tips to kind of keep you employed, with your social media, just to help you kind of avoid those blips. So the first one is conscientiousness. Firms that you're a part of want to believe that they've created communities for all the employees to interact in, and it's a positive place. So not just when you're on the clock, they're going to look through your timelines and your remarks and your tweets and even your, the articles that you post on LinkedIn to see the quality of the person that you are. How conscientious, how thoughtful can you be? How supportive are you of the community that you're a part of, whether at work, in your private life, everywhere that you're a part of, anywhere that somebody can see something like that online.
When we're talking about brands, obviously we said you're a brand, but your company is a brand, and they look at you in a sense as a brand ambassador. So that's really where the challenge comes in. So if you're out there being, you're saying one thing which is in direct competition to the way the company presents itself, that's where you're going to come into a challenge.
Yeah, and you become a liability at that point. And some companies, depending on how engaged they are with social media, would rather cut their losses than try to clean up a PR mess.
And there's actually some litigation going on right now based on some of these things. There's maybe people that have been fired for Facebook, and they're saying, well, wait a minute, is this freedom of speech? And it's murky right now. And there's actually a lawsuit going on right now. I can't remember the dollar amount, but the company's suing an individual because they're trying to figure out who owns the Twitter followers that this employee cultivated. And I think they're putting a dollar sign of $10,000 per Twitter follower that they're trying to sue this former employee over. So, you've got to be careful. And one of the most important things, and a lot of companies haven't done it yet.
Noah, is his name Noah something from Techno Buffalo? Is he that guy?
I don't know. I was reading it the other day, and they said they were trying to put a dollar figure on each one of the followers, and they came up with like an $8,000 to $10,000 figure. But again, this is all in the court systems right now. We don't know how it's going to shake out. So you still have to be, as it's going on, there's no precedence really. So there's no way for you to say, well, this is definitively how it works. So you have to basically pull this in now and say, I have to make my own social media policy. And one of the things I was going to mention is a good way to start from that is look at your company's social media policy. If your company doesn't have a social media policy, you might want to become a superhero and just kind of recommend that they start one.
Absolutely.
Because this way, then all the employees for the organization have a complete understanding. There's no ambiguity. This is what's expected of employees when they're representing the employer online, whatever it may be. So start there. Talk to your human resource department. If they don't have a social media plan, tell them to contact somebody. There's plenty of social media consultants right here in Western Massachusetts that do a fine job. That'd be more than willing to come in and talk to somebody about your employer and say, listen, we got to get you situated. It's good for your company, and it's good for you, and it offers everybody protection that they need nowadays.
And on the other side of that, when you're talking about what followers or friends are worth or likes on Facebook, if you are working for a company and they're really working on their social engagement, when it comes time to ask for that raise, on top of your advocacy for the company, at your desk, what you have done and what you can prove that you've done, or the return on the investment that social media can provide, is a huge leverage point.
Absolutely. I mean, we talked to Nunzi and I are writing a book about employment, and one of the things that we've seen through the countless people we've talked to and things like that is a lot of people always go and say, I want a raise. Well, okay, why? Because I do. Everything's
6 months have passed. It's obligatory.
Yeah, everything's about value. And when we tell people, even social media, anything aside, whenever you complete something, whenever you offer value to the organization, I did a project for my organization years ago. I saved them $1 million by restructuring the way that we did our mailing system. I'm going to ask for a raise for that. I just saved you $1 million. You know what I mean? I didn't bring you in $1 million, but on the same token, though, I did restructure the way you're doing something and save that money, and now that money can be used for other endeavors.
Right.
So, you know, that's valuable. And that's the same thing with social media. If you help to build up the following and people really engage you as a brand ambassador and things like that, and you see you're able to quantify, hey, listen, these came about as a result of my efforts, that's something to play in it. But it also helps, that's where it really is important to keep that positive vibe going and making sure you're representing everybody in a very good manner.
So with positivity comes emotional stability. Okay, so if you are a representative of a company, they don't want to see, you know, terrible, hate-filled music lyrics one day, and then sunshine and rainbows another day, and then back to, you know, some kind of domestic stuff one day, it's all terrible. So that, your stability, that is kind of a peek into who you are. So even though you might have, you know, a smiling demeanor at work, if they go online and every single one of your, you know, social media posts everywhere is completely unstable, then that might toss some red flags up.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we all have a personality inside the office, a personality outside of the office. But when you're using social media, especially if you're a high-profile situation, you know, you really got to be mindful about how you portray yourself, and you know that somewhat takes away the social part of social media.
Right.
So, but it all depends on, like for me, for instance, my Twitter, my LinkedIn account, I use for business purposes, but my Facebook page is my own private account. And in that sense,
that's where you find them doing the keg stands.
And yeah, that's where you'll see me doing, well, not me, but the college campuses. No, but that's where, you know, I can talk about those things. But the good thing about that is everybody that's on Facebook, the only people I allow access to my page are people that know me. So they know not only, because let's be honest, we're even inside of a tie and everything else, we're still human beings. We like to laugh. We like to be serious. So we have a variety of emotions that come to us, you know, on a daily basis. But you know, you can't be overtly, you know, unstable and just lashing out. And we've seen some of the, seen some horror stories about this.
No flaming.
And I'm sure you have. Thing. Yeah, I'm sure you have too. So if you're out there, just make sure you're trying to be very, you know, if you're representing a company, make sure you do it in a very good manner.
And one of the last things is openness. So if you are a company, if you are a brand or a, you know, a growing business, or you're working for a Fortune 500, your customers and your constituency, they want to see transparency. And social media is one of the best ways to do it on the quick and, you know, almost real time. So your customers, your clients, again, your constituents, they'll really know what's going on behind the doors. They have an opportunity to see behind the scenes, and with that peak comes a greater level of advocacy. Your customers now become stakeholders in what you do. Absolutely. Because they see the whole process come, you know, full circle. And if they believe in your product and they believe in the message that you have and your values, and now they see how you do it and they also support that, they're going to be more likely to, you know, further your brand. You know, they're going to be constantly, you know, engaging you either as customers or as a referral sources.
No, indeed. I mean, a lot of people, when, you know, we'll actually have a separate, we could have a whole separate show on how businesses should communicate through social media, because there seems to be some issues lacking there. But, you know, you really have to, people really want to engage brands. People want to even engage, people want to engage people. We're a society like that. You know, we like to interact. So when you're engaging people like that, don't ignore people. You know, if people, that's one of the biggest sins. But on yourself, you also can't ignore what you're doing, how you represent yourself, and the way you represent yourself on different collaterals. So if on Twitter, you can set up different things. LinkedIn is very powerful. If you optimize your LinkedIn account, it can be very powerful, helping a lot of opportunities to you. Twitter's a great, at least for myself, I found Twitter to be a fantastic networking tool. I can talk with anybody in China to wherever, and have a conversation. Start it online and then take it offline and have a conversation.
Absolutely.
And Facebook's always been this is mom and dad and whoever else, these are my friends and things like that. I very rarely, even the president of my company was giving me, hey, how come you haven't added me as a friend on Facebook? I'm like, first rule of Fight Club, don't talk about Fight Club. First rule of Facebook, never add your employer. That's just that's my.
I was going to say, there's some other people might, you know, say some different things.
Some people would. I mean, but that's a good thing about social media. It's personalized, and whatever works for you.
You can do what you want to do with it.
Absolutely. You have to do what works for you, and you got to be careful with that. So we're winding up today. I would definitely recommend, if you have any ideas, if you have any concerns about social media and how to use it for employment, do a search. Start a Google search, social media employment, get some best practices.
Or if you have any stories, have you used social media to kind of secure a spot with a firm or get a raise? We'd love to hear those stories too, and we'd love to share them.
All right. Well, listen, thank you again for tuning in.
And thanks. I'm Nunzio.
I'm Tom.
All right.
Bye-bye.